All right, so this is going to be, from my perspective, the games between me and Tommy in the finals of the World Championships of Shadow Era for 2021. Um, so I guess starting off, I bring Skirvox into Turidon. I was expecting Turidon to be played actually, and I figured Skirvox at least had some chance of beating Turidon. Um, Turidon is definitely probably my least the hero that I'm most afraid of in this match because Turidon can get rid of items, which all of my heroes generally use, some items at least. And it also is a very aggressive deck, so a lot of my decks are on the slower side, including this Skirvox. So we'll see how it goes, but the reason I think Skirvox has at least some chances, it doesn't use as many items as my other decks, and it has the potential to uh, kind of really build up a lot of allies quickly, which sometimes Turidon can kind of struggle to deal with a large number of allies. So that's why there I kind of set up the early game. I used Twisted Familiar there to try and grab another or just put out more allies. And here my thinking is I'm just gonna play a bunch of allies and yeah, abuse this card called Anmore's Call. Now what Anmore's Call does is it's an attachment that costs 4, and any ally that's killed goes to the top of your resource pile. So as you can see here, I've already got 10 resources, which is a ton of resources considering that um, yeah, if I was just sacking them normally, this is what, turn 6? So on turn 6, I've already got 10 resources, and that means I can just spam allies. Now, the only problem with this matchup is my main draw engine is Wrath of the Forest, and whenever I play Wrath of the Forest, it's just going to get blown up by Turidon. So that's something I kind of have to play around here. And that's why I'm not playing Wrath of the Forest, even though it's a really good card. Now around here, um, I'm actually in a really bad spot because I've got no draw due to not being able to play Wrath of the Forest. And I play a lot of allies that kind of replace themselves, such as False Blood Cultist or Belladonna, but um, they only replace themselves. So eventually, when I play allies that don't replace themselves, I start to kind of get behind a card advantage. So despite the fact that I have 13 resources, I really can't use them effectively with such little draw. So I'm kind of forced to pass here. I think this is where I kind of lose way too much steam. I think if I get some more allies out, or if I draw into like Bad Santa maybe um, on one of these earlier turns, it's going to be a lot easier for me to come back from this. But here already, you can see I'm very much struggling to kind of, yeah, do much in this situation. Okay, but I finally draw into my Bad Santa, which is a really good sign for me. So I'm going to go ahead and play what I can. Um, I probably should have used Overwhelm here, but I opted to go ahead and instead play my Shadow ability. And the reason I played Wrath of the Forest there is just because of the fact that um, I wanted to get rid of some of Turidon's shadow energy because I figured that would make it harder for him to activate his cards. So, he plays stuff like the Thriss Crucible and Shold, so I wanted to just slow that down a little bit. But yeah, here is where I definitely wished I had kept that shadow ability, because if I was able to kill his allies earlier with Overwhelm, that would have been a lot better. And here, there's nothing I can do against this monster board, and so I will lose this game. So yeah, a little bit of a misplay there. Maybe I should have played Overwhelm a little earlier and saved my shadow energy instead of being greedy with it. On the other hand, I'm on such low health. I'm not sure it matters that much because I think either way I'm in a bad spot. So what I really needed was to get more allies on the board a little earlier and maybe have more draw. Anyway, I'm just glad that Turidon is out of the way. This is a winners retire format, so that means that Tommy can't bring Turidon again, which I'm very glad for. Going into the second game, I think I make a strategic error. I decide to bring Xana. And just a little bit on my reasoning here, my thought process going into this was that Tommy played a lot of aggressive decks, and so I didn't really want to bring Gravebone to any of my matches. I think I kind of got tunnel vision into that a little bit because instead of bringing Gravebone here, I bring Xana. And against Baduru, which is a resource destruction deck, it really hurts because resource destruction prevents me from playing fatties, but the whole point of playing Xana is to spam fatties. So if I don't get enough resources, I can't even play those fatties fast enough, and that's a large reason why I think this is a really bad matchup for me. So strategically, I really wish I brought Gravebone here. Of course, it's easy for me to say this with hindsight. I don't necessarily know for sure that Tommy is going to bring Baduru, and if Tommy brought Xana, I definitely would prefer to bring Xana because Xana is very good at killing Gravebone with Tidal Wave. Anyway, I think, yeah, other than that, I don't want to bring Gwen because I'm saving Gwen for when Tommy goes first. But we can touch on that, or I will touch on that a little later. So going into this match, yeah, I kind of need to stall and then play fatties. So that's the game plan there. So that's why I run this card called Twisted Opportunist, or sorry, Twilight Opportunist. And it's for this very reason. So as you can see, Baduru plays Frostflame Harpy there, but Twilight Opportunist can basically kill whatever ally they play, but it dies at the end of the turn. So so yeah, I play it just because Xana needs to kind of stall and work up resources, and that's the best way to do it. That is a very unfortunate Here Be Monsters because it really hurts my tempo there to destroy one of my resources and forces me to skip a turn essentially. So this is the main reason why this is such a terrible matchup for me because yeah, losing that tempo there was really bad. Anyway, yeah, Tommy has a really good start here with both a weapon out and also spotter to attack twice. So I guess here I don't play my Tidal Wave because I don't want Tommy to keep attacking me with Grundler's Double, but on the other hand, Tidal Wave I felt like would be kind of a waste there because he could just play another spotter, for example, and then I'd be in the same spot as before. So I'd rather get my Tainted Oracle out instead of getting my Tidal Wave in. And that's also why I sacked Tidal Wave, even though, honestly, reflecting back on it, I probably could have kept it instead of the King's Pride. But yeah, I felt like it would be better for me to keep the King's Pride because at least I can save some health that way. And I'm getting really low on health here. So I figure the King's Pride will be pretty tough for Tommy to remove, unless he draws into Leyline Nexus or something like that. Yeah, here is kind of a tricky situation where I really need more draw power. And so I think you're going to see over the next few turns, Tommy getting rid of my Wizened Staff and by attacking into it ends up being really good for him because I end up totally bricking here and not drawing into any of my fatties. Not that it would have mattered that much, because with Spotter on the field and the fact that he's got a bunch of allies on the field, I've kind of lost control of the board. So I would need like a tidal wave and then to like the more focused prayers, or something like that to come back from this. And unfortunately, I just don't have the draw power to support that. So yeah, I'm doing what I can though, to stall, and especially in these games, you can never really give up. Um, so I play my Healing Touch and my Xana ability, and here I'm just hoping maybe I can draw into a Wizen's Prayer or some Tainted Oracles, and come back from this. Um, so yeah. Uh, Here, yeah, drawing into another opportunist here is pretty poor. I think actually, one of Baduru's weaknesses, and maybe one of the reasons why this is not necessarily the worst matchup in the world, is Baduru really struggles to kill fatties. So, so yeah, if I drew into some fatties here, it would have let me stall for a little longer, maybe, um, and then draw into some of those better cards. But I think this is, in general, one of the issues with Xana is, yeah, you really rely on Wizen's Prayer to draw you cards, but it's actually kind of a risky card to play, because it's kind of like Blood Frenzy in that you spend a Shadow Energy to draw a card, and that Shadow Energy could instead be used to heal you for health. So especially against these more aggressive decks, it can be kind of tough. And actually, Tommy's play there to let me draw cards with Tainted Oracle and then steal them immediately with Night Prowler was pretty brilliant, because that got rid of my tidal wave that could have saved me there. So yeah, well played to Tommy there, and definitely a bad matchup that I walked into. So now I have to win the next 3 games in a row to win the match, and so I decide to bring Skirvox. And in general, Skirvox was probably my best performing hero out of the 4 heroes I brought to the World Championships. And I think a large part of it is that it's good against both ally based builds and ability based builds because of the way I set it up, and especially against Xana, which is an ally based build. Skirvox can really punish that kind of ally based strategy with its hero power, to disable all of the opponent's allies without targeting. So that's a real reason why Skirvox is going to be really good against Xana. And at this point, I know Tommy is going to bring Xana. In theory, Tommy could have brought Loest, but I figured that Tommy would wait until the 4th game to bring Loest, because Tommy generally likes to bring Loest when he has first, when he's going first, and this is a random start game. And so in Shadow Era, generally speaking, you the first game is random, and then the game after that, the person who went second goes first, and it just repeats in that pattern. So yeah, so since Tommy didn't know if he was going first or second, I knew he was probably not going to bring Loest. Anyway, this is an amazing start for me. Tommy opts to play out Almor Interceptor and try and kill my Fire Snake, but I'm kind of lucky here, and I draw into my Krygon, which is going to let me kill the Almor Interceptor. This is an interesting decision point. I could have played Wrath of the Forest there, and then ran my Fire Snake into the Devoted Knight to draw a card instead of get it on the top of the deck. And generally, I would say you would rather draw cards than get cards on top of your deck. But because I know that Tommy plays Focused Prayer, I felt like Wrath of the Forest was a lot more vulnerable than Almor's Call to removal, which Tommy can only really remove with Mass Purification. So that's why I opted to play Admiral's Call instead of Wrath of the Forest there. And yeah, I guess uh, I am a little bit worried about draw because obviously I could brick pretty easily. But the nice thing about Skirvox is a lot of my cards replace themselves. So I run things like Belladonna, which draws a card, False Bullet Cultist, which effectively draws 2 cards. Um, well, you do have to discard a card, but you can discard a useless card, and Bad Santa, which I draw here to draw 3 more cards. So, um, in general, I also like to play Call early because I feel like getting those resources early lets you play multiple Belladonna per turn or just combo off with Overwhelm and other cards. So having resources is actually really good in this deck. Anyway, here you can see another, I guess, one of the real reasons why this deck is so strong. I'm playing Krygon and ramming it into Xana and letting it die. Because every time my allies die, I get a resource and I draw a card. So I actually really want my allies to die in a way. It just lets me ramp up and draw and ramp up more. So you can see how once I get the ball rolling, this is a really hard deck to stop. Anyway, here, yeah, I just spam the board with allies, and then I drop the Skirvox ability. So this is a pretty key strategy for the Skirvox decks. The way I view it is Skirvox plays very much like Moonstalker. You want to play a bunch of allies and then kind of hide them behind stealth in the case of Moonstalker. In the case of Skirvox, hide it behind your ability that disables all of the opponent's allies. When you disable all of the opponent's allies, like I'm going to do here, you prevent any of them from attacking your allies. So it is, the way I view it is it's effectively a protective effect. You protect yourself for 1 turn against the opponent's field. Anyway, yeah, here I don't even really care if Xana tidal waves me, and that's another strength of this deck and why it's so strong against Xana. If I get tidal waved, I can just redo my turn basically because I'm going to be, well, okay, to be fair, I don't have Wrath of the Forest out right now, but I'll still get all those allies put on the top of my resource pile. So it's like I'm not really losing them after all. Anyway, here I just go and do as much damage as possible. And the only thing Tommy can do here to save himself is to play Tidal Wave. But luckily for me, he doesn't run it. Or no, he does run it, but he doesn't draw into it. And so yeah, I'm able to take that game, luckily. Now I'm still in a bad spot. Tommy is up 2 games, and I only have 1 game now. So I have to win the next 2 games to win the match. And I know he's going to bring Loest. So that's why I opt to bring Gwen. And I guess the reason I bring Gwen going second, when Gwen is usually a going first deck, is because I have this one hope, which is Ascetic of Aldmore, which I play a bunch of. It's a 1cc ally that has 1 attack and 2 health. And it has the ability where if you're going second and you have less resources or equal resources to the opponent, it can actually reduce an opposing ally's attack by 1. So that's why I bring Gwen, even though Gwen is really a going first deck. I bring it going second here because I'm really hoping that that's going to be enough to kind of control the early game enough to not take too much damage and maybe take back the game. The other factor there is Gwen is a weapon hero, which is really good against Supernova. Supernova gets rid of all the allies on the field, essentially. But when you have weapons out, you can still keep doing damage to the opponent. And a Supernova is going to leave them vulnerable to being killed too. And here I'm showing off one of my techs, Rolling Boulders. Shout out to SK Trinocore for that suggestion. It is really an anti-Gravebone tech, so it will return a fatty, such as Aldrades, from when Gravebone revives it, it will return it to the hand. So that's kind of a neat tech there. But anyway, yeah. The other reason I think Gwen has a chance is Soul Seeker can actually give me some healing power against Loest. So yeah, that's kind of why. I guess another reason is Lair and Seductress. Since I know I'm going second, is going to be a really good card as well to disable my opponent's allies for a turn. So yeah. Now going into going into this match. Unfortunately, I don't draw into Ascetic of Aldmore in my opening hand, which is really a shame because I think it would have given me a good chance to win this game. But honestly, yeah, if I play Ascetic of Aldmore here, I think I can get rid of that Chris, and I can also reduce the attack of Cinderborn to 1, and that would have given me the foothold I needed to kind of start taking back some of this game. Sorry for those notification sounds. Let me turn that off. Anyway, so yeah, Cinderborn Fatebreaker is actually really annoying because it disables my Hunter's Gambit. If I play Hunter's Gambit, then Cinderborn Fatebreaker will negate the effect, so I won't get the draw, and it's kind of a wasted card. So that's why I don't play Hunter's Gambit there, and I instead opt to play Aldmore the Brave in order to just soak up some damage. I actually think this is probably a mistake. I might have just been better off sucking it up and just playing Hunter's Gambit to kill the Cinderborn Fatebreaker. But yeah, instead I just go ahead and I use Soul Seeker to take it out. Now, my gamble here is that Tommy will probably, either ram into it with all his allies and leave them vulnerable to my Hunter's Gambits, or he'll exile it with the hero power and give me free reign to play weapons. There I actually kind of wish I did not draw into that Soul Seeker, because I'd have felt a lot more comfortable sacking a different card, and then I could use Hunter's Gambit to get rid of the Aldmore. To get rid of his allies with the Hunter's Gambits. But I think this kind of shows the real strength of Loest, though, going first. Loest, unless you get like a perfect start, it's a really tough hero to beat, and really props to Tommy for bringing such a strong hero and recognizing that Loest had a lot of potential in this meta, because a lot of decks are slower, and it really punishes those slower decks, as you can see here, where going first, he doesn't even care that he's losing the board because he's dealing so much damage to my hero that I cannot keep up. So yeah, props to Tommy. By taking this game and winning this game, he wins the entire match. So he played a really good game and a really good match, brought really good decks, and props to him. A very well-deserved World Championships by him. Anyway, I hope this video helped you see some of my choices and maybe some of my strategies and why I chose to play certain cards over others. And so, I hope you enjoyed seeing these games from my perspective in this video. Anyway, thanks for watching, and see you next time. Bye.